Here we go. Welcome back to Lenz's Comic Corner, classic lesson known classic. This episode number 33149. Excuse me, in Doubleshot 3043. I got two Marvel trades, and they're sci-fi trades. First, this first trade here had been sitting in my stack over here next to my laptop on this box I have here. It's been sitting there for like a year, and now I just finally get to it, and it's Ultraman, Rise of Ultraman, written by Kyle Higgins. Yes, he writes this thing. And Matt Groom, artwork by Francisco Mina. We also have various stories related to Ultra Q, Kaiju Steps, and things to come. Ultra Q, the artwork for that one's by Mike Cho. Kaiju Steps is Geru, and Emma Guinness does the artwork for things to come. The cover artwork for the first issue, this is done by Alex Ross. Issues 2 to 5 was Jorge Molina. Now, it starts off with basically, we flash back to the 1960s, where Dan Maroshi, where he's like flying around, gets hit by an explosion, and then he becomes basically, well, in the original episode, he becomes Ultraman. Then we jump ahead to the year 2020, and it is something. By the way, this book came out in 2021. But one thing I did notice about reading this, like, oh, look at this, no mask. Because even I realized, oh yeah, the mask thing was stupid. So they just basically, you have these two new people, who one's giving this woman a lift, don't know who this woman is. So they go to this facility, this building that's got this weird tree. So this is basically the headquarters of. So basically, apparently Maroshi, he died originally. So then we have somebody who supposedly is the new. Who is the new Ultraman, might ask? Well, we'll find out and see. So then we have basically these various different people wearing these uniforms, and then we have Kaiju show up. Yes, Kaiju. You're thinking this thing is cover art, right? Ultraman. Where's Ultraman? Well. This guy named Sheen, who basically blew a Kaiju tracker because it's not his job, so give him a supportive friend. And then we have Project Starlight. I don't think this is from the show. So Marbroshu, and of course basically we have their Kaiju show up. Oh yes, definitely. Actually no, it's Ultraman himself. Yeah, I think it's a threat. Nope. And then we have the cover, the famous pose that Ultraman does with the whole crossing with his hands. Yeah, he did it frequently in the show. Shin Hayata. And rather young. Now, does this guy become new host of Ultraman? Well, they have this stuff scratched out basically because, like, declassified. So, then, look, it's Ultraman. Yeah, so, and then we have this Ultra. He fights the Kaiju, and there you go now, fires at these Kaijus, and like, oh. So yeah, oh, look at this. We have a camera here by Ultra 7. Yeah, that's Ultra 7. Mm-hmm. Her being, so supposedly that history has been altered. So then, of course, then Shin Hayata becomes a new Ultraman. So he becomes the host because Damaris apparently died. So then, he basically kind of joins them, and while you have basic Ultraman, of course, he has this device here, which he had this in the show too, which. Good on basically the artist. Remember the fact that It was this device he just put up in the air and poof, here comes Ultraman. Now, the way he did it in the show is that every time he fires up, you have him basically punch in the air and bounce the kaiju, blast him like usual. I think that the one shown in this miniseries. By the way, this is only 5 issues, believe it or not. Yes. So we have more blasting of kaiju. Yeah. So, and of course they discuss it, and of course then we do the famous pose, which I'm glad that the book basically included that. About more kaiju, which is just pure awesomeness. And then we have this kaiju. I don't remember these kaiju's names because last time I watched Original Ultraman. I have watched it since last, I think it was like almost 2 years ago, I think it was. So Ultraman runs, fights the kaiju. I'm sorry if I forget the people's name. It's been a while since I've seen it, so. And also, of course, eventually, like, Ultraman. Yeah. So, they transforms once again. And then the book ends with, basically, Dan Roshi showing up in present day, and it continues in the trials of Ultraman. But then we have some short stories. Kaiju stats, basically, stuff set, it just having... Perry basically have a little fun here. A little bit of noir setting. Fighting their kaiju. There is an Ultra Q in here. Yeah. The kaiju steps is just basically one page. Ultra Q is a reputation of the original Ultra Q TV show. It's black and white, of course. Yeah. And of course, they did with a small kaiju. Yeah, the thing with Ultra Q is, it's basically nobody able to build these kaijus before the Ultras themselves show up. And then, of course, basically we have somebody get eliminated, and then we have more kaiju steps, things to come in Rise of Ultraman, where we have possibly Ultraman fighting Ultra 7. Oh, I do remember this. I think I remember this alien. I think he was like I think he appeared like a couple times in the show as a recurring alien. Yeah, as the book itself, really good. First of 3 miniseries for the Ultra franchise from all comics. The third one involves the Ultras fighting the Avengers for some reason. I give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. Really good. Next up we have is Death's Head, Clone Drive. This collects Death's Head. I believe this is volume 3, along with the original first issue from 1988, the year I was born. Basically, it's Marvel publishing their popular UK character, which the story of this character is interesting because he was supposed to debut in Transformers, but they decided to make him debut in Doctor Who first, just so they keep the character, because anybody who showed up in Transformers is automatically owned by Hasbro, with the exception of Cyber Circuit, where they own... It's kind of confusing with that one. Yes, also in this book, Death's Head, he's basically an intergalactic robot bounty hunter. This book's written by Teeny Howard, art by Kai Zama. The cover is done by Nick Rochi and Felipe Serra. So, Death's Head basically looks like it's a rocker. Well, it looks like he's basically like rocking out with people on Earth. And then we see also, believe it or not, what was his name? The guy Monkey Work Plate. Yondu. Yeah, Yondu is here. I can tell by the look, yeah, that's basically President Yondu, who actually debuted in the Star-Lord relaunch post-Secret Wars in the opening in Star-Lord Year 1. Yes, and then there was a Yondu miniseries where he met his future version himself, and the future version died. So, he shoved in his face, and then we see, well, pre-married, and then we see, looks like it's, I think that's Cammy. Yeah, I think that's Cammy with Wicked and Hoakley. Yeah, so basically it's because it's coming out 2019. Kind of in a way, this is just Destiny with the Young Avengers. Of course, Kate Bishop's here too, because you have 3 amazing characters who debuted in a great decade. That being the Well, in the case of Marvel Comics, I'd say the second half of the 2000s, Marvel Comics, I'd say for the first years it was not very good for Marvel, even DC, but things got better with 2004 to basically 2010. Yeah. Yep. So, they of course do his new model who's like a punk, like his Death's Head Mark II. Where he's like activated sword to replace him, and of course Hulkling is here to help out. And then Kate Bishop shows up in the book because why not? Yeah. So there's talk of replacing Death's Head because I think he's too old. Like he says he's not a robot, even kind of he is. And he of course has to take on his replacement. And then of course they reference Young Avengers Volume 2, which my guess is Teeny must have referenced that because she probably was told to do that. So, and then more aliens. This is a really fun miniseries. And can you look, this is only 4 issues? Yeah, only 4 issues. And of course, they kind of work together. It's a lot of jargon here, per se. And then we have... and then they included, right afterwards, they included the first issue of the original Death's Head book. Now, this came out in 1988, this book. Now... yeah, so pretty much in the way, this is not the introduction to Death's Head. Oh no. Peacekeeping agent, or basically he's just out capturing. He just basically is feudal society. It's alien version of feudal society. And he shoots people up. But the art style reminds me a lot of early Judge Dredd. Where it's like posing as a woman, kills some people, and he just basically like a private eye on an alien planet. Be a bounty hunter. Now you would think basically it's like, I'm a business. Yes. Now was this issue a one shot? Thank you. Now, was this in fact an early book by Teen Howard? Possibly, yes. If I get the thing up here, there we go. Okay, so this was just the... okay, so the... I think this was volume 1. Yeah, so... yeah, this was not exactly his first issue of his first book. He previously appeared in a book called Dragon's Claw. And the original volume, which published by Marvel UK, mind you. Yes, Marvel UK. And it lasted, get this, 10 issues. Published from November 1988, concluded in August 1989. This was volume 2. Yep, volume 2. Yes. Quite interesting. Marvel brought back this book, per se, as a miniseries. I kind of forgot this book came out. Yeah. I know I've never mind the Marvel UK stuff, aside from maybe, if you look at, let's say, something like, so, okay, so it's Transformers UK 113, so it's the Transformers comics, so, yeah, The thing with Death's Head, he has not really appeared a lot per se. No. Looks like he appeared, oh yeah, I was from a Doctor Who magazine, but they decided to do Transformers first, appeared in Transformers UK, then Dragon's Claws, and Dragon's Head, then Death's Head, and then after Death's Head book wrapped up, then he popped up in Fantastic Four, Death's Head Body in Question, Life and Times of Death's Head, Sleaze Brothers, another Doctor Who magazine, some Markham presents Impossible Incomplete Death's Head, Death's Head 2, First Line for Sword, an issue of Iron Man, actually the Karen Gillian run for Iron Man, so we'll show a couple issues of Nova. So prior to this miniseries, last appeared in Infinity Wars, Sleepwalker. Technically, the last issue of this book was his last printed appearance. He did next appear in a digital book, Avengers Unlimited Infinity comic, which came out just a couple years ago. But that's been pretty much basically his most recent appearance to date. Or basically he was fighting Star-Lord. Yep, he also appeared in Marvel Comics 1001. Yeah, and he was part of the Infinity Countdown book, which was a continuation of Darkhawk. 51. Yep. So I was like, yeah, he basically did something with that, and then did his book, and that's it. The Nova book was actually, I think this was the last volume for Nova that was ever published, because Marvel just did not freaking care to publish any more comics for some reason. Probably wasn't a big of seller. Yeah, sadly. But in the case of this book overall, it was pretty good. Now, I give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. I appreciate Tini Howard writing it in the style of, like, basically, like, of 80s comics in a way. It's a good thing it was a miniseries, because I don't think as an ongoing, I don't think he would have survived the way comics are nowadays. I highly doubt it. So, basically, when this book was coming out, they were like halfway through her miniseries for Thanos. Because the first comic she ever wrote was actually a Captain America annual. Yes. I don't think this was a Vector trade. Oh, it's from the Time Dakota's run. Yes. Then Age of Conan Bella, that was her first series. Then Thanos, that was her second one. This was her third. Yeah, this is her third series. Her first ongoing Struck, which I have covered that one. I've also covered Excalibur. The X-Core book. Knights of X. Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain. Her last book was a wedding special. So, what this book basically covered, you're thinking, okay, so what series have to go for her? Age of Going Ballet and Thanos. I had covered Marvel Knights 20, so it just Age of Going Ballet and Thanos. And that's virtually it. She didn't do a lot for Marvel. I mean, she did technically like 3 ongoing series plus a few miniseries. She even did the first issue of Empire X-Men. Yeah, she did the opening issue, but she did not do the rest of the miniseries. Yeah, Hickman pretty much did. Basically, the second issue was done by Lee Williams, Ben Percy, Gary Duggan. Yeah, basically, Empire X-Men was basically just a variety of X-Men writers basically writing this miniseries. But Tini Howard only wrote the opening, which I covered already. So, yeah, like I said, just 2 miniseries to go for her. Yep. But yeah, not much to say, and it's getting kind of late right now, so I better get to bed so I can get ready for work in the morning. So, please like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.